Patrick Micheels is the manager of Schuby's Neighborhood Butcher. We chatted about his own path, the origins of the butcher shop, local farmers, butcher boxes, and what is next for this boutique neighborhood butcher. I'm Amy, and he's Brent, and this is La Crosse Local.
My name is Patrick Micheels. I was born in Scottsbluff, Nebraska. It's a small town in the panhandle of Nebraska, about 15,000 people. I got into the food industry because, I was always curious about food when I was a child, curious about cooking. I always wanted more. You know, my parents, my mother put a meal on the table every single night, or my father. I watched cooking shows, and my father hunted. It was a big part of our lives. You know, we weren't wealthy by any means. We ate a lot of deer meat. We ate a lot of elk meat. We ate a lot of rabbit, duck, geese, turkey, pheasant, dove, quail, squirrel, anything that walks or flies around Nebraska, we would usually hunt, in the right season. So appreciating the animals and where they come from and how to process them correctly, that had a huge influence on me. And, he was always very thorough when it came to respecting the process of hunting. It's not just about getting the big buck. We have to respect the process, and we use everything. We have to kill things humanely. So that was ingrained from a very young age. We were hunting when I was, 5 years old. We always had a huge garden too. The summertime was always about the harvest and, what came from there, how that, influenced our dinners, and, mixing the game with the garden. I really started to develop a passion for cooking and asking my parents if I could do recipes. So my father suggested that I go to Omaha and look into the culinary school there. So I did, and I went to culinary school for 5 years. I got my degree in culinary science. I originally wanted to be kind of like a lab chef where I created food for companies. And when I graduated, I ended up getting a job at a French restaurant just as like a fry cook, making pommes frites and salads, and fell in love with the lifestyle. And I'd worked in restaurants from when I was 15, cooking at like the Greasy Spoon back in Scottsbluff, making eggs and hash browns and stuff. I had jobs as a cook and as a server. So I was always involved in the restaurant community. I felt like when I graduated culinary school and started this job, it was really the pivotal turn for me, where it was like, this is for sure going to be a profession. Just worked as hard as I could. I came 3 hours early every day and stayed 2 hours late every night. And I ended up becoming the chef de cuisine. And then the owner of that restaurant ended up opening a restaurant across the street. I took over as the executive chef and ran it for 3.5 years. Me and my wife, we traveled a lot. We spent some time in Europe. I fell in love with Belgian food, French food, and then I fell in love with Mexican food. I created a concept in Omaha. It's called El Coyote. It's a French-Mexican fusion, kind of like gastropubby kind of vibe. Authentic Mexican like recipes and ingredients with French technique. Another opportunity came across in La Crosse, Wisconsin, when I was approached about this job. Came to La Crosse, talked to the Weber family, and Ellie and Kevin, my directors at the Weber Group. I liked everything about it. I wanted to get more into charcuterie. I wanted to get more into butchery. I love delicatessens. I love the way they operate. It's a neighborhood store that's very comforting and, trustworthy. And I liked having that relationship with people. So the whole concept of the shop was great. Ellie and Kevin have a ton of experience. I knew I would learn a lot from both of them. It was an hour conversation with Don Weber that made me really want to move here. In the restaurant business, you get a little sidetracked. Sometimes it's all work focused and it's all about the job. I needed desperately a work-life balance. My wife, we have a son and another one on the way. So I needed some family time, and also to be able to enjoy a craft and a passion, be in the restaurant business at the same time. And this kind of offered that opportunity.
So what was the impetus for Schuby's Neighborhood Butcher? My past experience, I worked for Bridal's Meat Market, which was around for about 50 years. And also I heard stories about there used to be a butcher shop almost on every corner in La Crosse. What was the idea for Schubys? How did that start?
Don and Roxy, they remember, and I believe Roxy is, I believe she's related to one of the Schubert brothers. So there was a butcher shop in La Crosse. There's two brothers. They both had a butcher shop in La Crosse, Schubert's Meats. They remember going in there as a kid, sawdust on the floor, slab of ring bologna as you walked in the door kind of thing. And that kind of is just, it got lost, and La Crosse they felt like didn't have a really great local butcher shop. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of butcher shops around, but they wanted to almost pay, homage to the Schubert brothers in a way, bring back an old world style butcher shop that did whole animal processing, but focused on new techniques, kind of like a evening dining scene. We do charcuterie and drinks and stuff too. And for the sheer fact of having local meats and great products available to anybody who needs it in the town, being that shop where we know your name, and they wanted people to feel that personal touch that you get with a butcher shop.
Just being in this area, which is, there's a ton of organic farms, there's a ton of farms raising cattle and pork and all the meats you could think of. Why is offering regional meats so important to this market?
It's a new way that people are eating. Everybody's learning about food more every single day. They're getting a lot more information than they used to about where their food comes from. And people now want to know where their steak came from. A huge point of pride for us when someone can come up to the case and say, "Where does your beef come from?" And I can say it's 45 miles away. This piece of meat literally has 45 miles on it. Most meat that's in the supermarkets nowadays, over 2,000 miles from farm to slaughter to store to storage to store. It's a whole operation. And to get something so clean from a farmer that doesn't necessarily sell his beef to anybody but his family and us, it's really a special product.
So what's next for Schubys?
Well, I think we're still trying to figure out who we are as a butcher shop. We had a couple of principles laid out in the beginning that we wanted to process whole animals for one. We wanted to make everything from scratch, and we wanted to be as local as possible. And not just food that's local, but retail products that are local too. Maple syrup, liquor, woodworkers, anything that comes from the Driftless area. We like to showcase things that maybe people won't have available at other shops. Really nice olive oil, or, smoked sea salt, 12-year DOP balsamic vinegar. So we're still trying to figure out who we are, and more focused on a meat case or a butcher shop or a deli. But we've got a lot of great feedback on our butcher boxes, the last 3 of them that we did. And we're going to be putting forth a program to have these butcher boxes available almost like a subscription. You buy a 6-month subscription, you'd get a 1 butcher box a month, and they would have different meats in it each month. We would select not just steaks, it'd have steaks, sausages, ground products, lamb, pork, anything that comes from a whole animal that we can turn around and put into a butcher box that has a little bit of our own spin on it. There's cheese and wine boxes, charcuterie boxes, sandwich making kits. Getting more into those type of things. We're definitely going to do classes as soon as we can. We want to host sausage making classes, like pig butchery, beef butchery. 10 people standing around a butcher table while we butcher a pig, and then we, have some snacks and drinks and talk about where each cut comes from and why. And then there's our evening dining scene that we're trying to get. We just got our liquor license for our patio. Our patio it's absolutely beautiful. Can seat about 15 to 20. All the tables are spaced 6 feet apart right now. Hosting events out there, like doing barbecue on Friday nights or something, drink specials, and trying to get a more active happy hour crowd.
So if people want to check out maybe a butcher box or stop down and sit on the patio and have a drink or something to eat, where can they go to find out more information about you?
Our Facebook page has a ton of information. We always advertise what we're doing on Facebook, Instagram. Our website, www.schubys.com, it has our full menu, catering menu, and then all the events. We have a newsletter that goes out that you can do on the website.
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at Lacrosse Locals. Subscribe to the Lacrosse Local podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.